Kapow! Hello and welcome to Stanchion Snacks, a bit of a mouthful. Now this weekend we are away at Derby County at Pride Park.
But Southampton equalise with a wonderful free kick from teen sensation Gareth Bale. The Welsh youngster had already been tipped to be a big start.
Each week I either choose a player based on, sometimes it is a player that I really love, and sometimes it's more to do with the region of the player, and that is what has been my sort of starting block. Today's player is Indigo Idiakez. So Idiakez is from San Sebastian, which is a very exciting region of the world when it comes to food. Now San Sebastian actually has more Michelin star restaurants per capita than anywhere else in the world. Basque region is home to arguably the best steak in the world. When it comes to steak, I've always looked for sort of grass-fed, outdoor bred. I think in the UK we have some pretty good beef, and particularly in Shropshire here we do. I've never really got on board with USDA. And USDA, like you see some of the pictures of their farms, and it's not for me. The meat is also very young when it comes to USDA. Now what is very interesting about the meat in the Basque region is it's very old. It's in fact up to 15 years old. Now a cow just left in the wild could live to about 20. The oldest known cow of all time, which some of you might know, the famous Irish cow Big Bertha, which actually lived to nearly 49 years old. What a hero. But what is interesting about the steak from the Basque region is a lot of the time it is retired dairy cows. So a milking cow that might milk for sort of 3 to 4 years is then retired, and then it's just sort of left to fatten up and live this happy life of retirement up to perhaps the age of 15. Now, I know a lot of people, vegans, vegetarians, would say eating all meat is absolutely wrong. But my view is if we can extend the life of an animal, it's a great thing. So I'm happy to be the person eating retired dairy cows, basically. If I just ordered a 65-pound steak and I cooked it here for you now, it might not be the most beneficial video for you all. So I have decided that I'm going to give away one of my greatest steak dishes, which is a steak sandwich. Now this is something that originated from a little restaurant called Eat Up that I opened in Shrewsbury many years ago. And it's pretty simple in its ingredients. The number one thing you need is a great piece of steak, which we'll talk about a little bit later on, but then a red onion marmalade. So this is 2 ingredients. It's grenadine, which if you haven't got any grenadine in your house, you need to start having more cocktails. So start by slicing some red onions and then into a dry pan, weigh them out, and then put roughly half the amount of weight of grenadine syrup. And we're just going to leave that ticking over on the back hob. The other thing that this normally involves is a mustard mayo, but because this is a football show, I've decided to do something a little left field. So today, rather than a mustard mayo, we are going to be creating a Bovril mayo. Now the one thing that's important, I think, to have when making a mayonnaise is a little bit of boiling water just on the side, just to stabilize your mayo as you're making it. So I tell you what, rather than having boiling water on the side, I might as well have a cup of Bovril. So I'm going to make myself a cup of Bovril. Here's a little bit about the history of Bovril, and we'll come back and we'll make some mayonnaise. In 1870, Napoleon III ordered 1 million cans of beef to feed his army. Now, although beef was readily available, transportation was an issue. This was a task passed over to Scottish butcher John Lawson Johnson, and he created Bovril. The name combines the Latin bovinus, meaning ox, and vril, which comes from the novel The Coming Race, to signify the strength of an ox. This has been long popular at football matches to stay warm. Okay, the kettle's up, so I thought you might actually want to see me making some Bovril. So on the back of here, it calls for 1 large teaspoon. Let's go with that. I am going to drink this, but from a hygiene point of view, because I might actually use it in the mayo, I'm just going to keep it on the side to let it cool down for a little bit. So traditionally mayonnaise, you would have 1 egg yolk, because 1 egg is enough. Now we would again traditionally have like a decent spoon of mustard, but we are going to instead have a decent spoon of Bovril. I was thinking, should I start whisking the egg without it? But yes, I think I will. So I'm just going to start whisking. We will add, I guess, almost a similar amount of Bovril. We'll start with that much. That's a good teaspoon. And we're going to whisk it together. Now that has instantly gone quite thick. And now we're just going to start dribbling in some oil, so some rapeseed or some sunflower oil. Sort of, you don't want olive oil because it's too thin. And we're just going to add a little bit at a time. So for one egg, you probably want about 125 to 150 millilitres of oil. And we've already started quite thick, so I am going to add just a touch of water, Bovril water, just for this. And now that already is about the consistency of mayonnaise. So what we basically want to do now, as we're adding the oil, is we want to keep it at this consistency. So it can thicken up a little bit, but if it starts to get too thick, add some more water. But be careful, because if it goes too thin, you'll just have to add more oil than you want. This seems a little bit scary, but trust me, it's not. That is a good mayonnaise consistency. It's perhaps a touch on the thick side, which is okay. So the first thing we're going to do is give it a little taste, because I think we're probably going to want to add a little bit of lemon juice or vinegar, something a little bit acidic to the. But let's give this a go. And as some of you may know, this is an experimental challenge. This is the first time I've generally ever made Bovril mayonnaise. I just thought it'd be a cool thing to do. It looks great. I'm happy with the colour. I'm happy with the consistency. Let's give it a taste. Whoa. That is insane. It's like beefy. It's got so much depth of flavour. I don't think I'm going to add any lemon. Maybe just a hit of lemon. Let's see if it makes a difference. Just a tiny little squeeze there, maybe like a teaspoon max. But it's got no salt in, because Bovril's pretty salty anyway. Yes. That's just balanced it a little bit, brought it together. That is insane. If you make one thing from this channel, make Bovril mayo, people. That is absolutely sensational. So those are our components. We've got our Bovril mayo. Our onions have now cooked down to this nice sort of sticky, jammy kind of consistency. So all we've got left to do now is cook the bread in a slightly unusual way, and the steak, and we're ready to go. Now, as regular viewers of this series will know that I'm a big fan of Jason's bread when it comes to going to the supermarket. But traditionally, when we had this sandwich on the menu, we always used Marks & Spencer's soft farmhouse white. So that is what I bought today. Well, we used that for the first sort of month or so whilst we were trying to find a local baker, which we did in the end. But my boss used to go every day to M&S and get that, which at the time I thought was really expensive, but it turned out it was actually cheaper than the local baker in the end. This is what I think, maybe $1.75 a loaf, and you get 7 sandwiches out of a a loaf, not including the ends. So what's that, 25p? 25p a sandwich. That's insane. So what we're going to do with this bread actually is we're going to butter it first. Generous, rough buttering. And I'm putting that underneath the grill, which has gone off because I closed the door. That's how grills work. And then let's talk steak. So my favourite steak to eat if I'm out in a restaurant is probably a ribeye. But when it comes to sandwiches, I prefer a sirloin. So I've got a really nice piece of sirloin here from my local butcher. This is 205 grams. I asked him for 200, roughly, and he hit 205, which is pretty good, really. That's a generous sandwich. If we were doing this in a restaurant, we would probably be looking at sort of 180 tops grams, so 160 to 180 grams. But we're not in a restaurant, we're at home. So we've got this lovely bit of sirloin, a little bit of fat going through the middle, but not loads. And then just this beautiful bit on the outside, which we'll end up cutting off. So that's been coming up to sort of room temperature. And I'm just going to hit that with a little touch of oil on both sides and a little bit of salt. Nice heavy bottom cast iron pan. This was a pan that I acquired when I was working at the Ivy, when we moved from gas to electric. So anything that required gas, like that pan, we could have. So decent amount of pepper. Just had to make myself a glass of water to go alongside my Bovril. I'm now at least sort of 150 millilitres through, and it is beginning to get a little bit intense. There must be a lot of salt in this. Yeast extract. It's basically like drinking Marmite, but with beef in it. Just add 1 teaspoon. It's got no nutritional value on it whatsoever. Where do we find that? It must be somewhere. I want to know what percentage of my salt this is. Doesn't say. Anywho, the best was see back. Aha! There it is. So 1 spoon, 12 grams, that's probably what we put in, is 1.4 grams of salt. That's not that bad. But here's the big one, 4.4 grams of protein. Well, I feel so great. Okay, right, I'm going to start cooking the steak. Pan is nice and hot. Pan's really hot, really red hot, searing hot. No oil in the pan, only on the steak. Turn the steak. The bread is pretty much there. Now I don't mind that we've got this sort of almost marbly patchy, that we've got nice toasty here, a little bit soft here, but it's toasting up nicely and it's really soft on the inside. Now the steak, I've turned, because it's for a sandwich, you literally just have to sear it. You don't have to worry about cooking this bit of fat so much, because we're going to cut it off anyway. So you're still getting that little sort of fat going through, making it nice and juicy. That's a beautiful sear on both sides. So I'm just going to let that have a real good rest. Finished my Bovril. I still feel okay. Beautiful toasty toasty. So first thing, on one side of the bread, we've got this beautiful Bovril mayo. Doesn't matter which side, decent spoon like that. On the other side, these beautiful, sweet, sticky onions, just with grenadine. Again, a similar sort of size amount. We can be generous here, we're at home. So, first things first, let's trim off this bit of fat here. Give that to your dog. That little bit, chef snack. But then just at a slight angle, we're just going to cut this. So we can put that whole thing, we can be generous here. Put our Bovril mayo side on the top, go over, and let's slice this baby up. So there you have it, people. That is one hell of a stanchion snack. It's a bit of a mouthful. That is my beautiful steak sandwich with Bovril mayo and grenadine onions. It's a little tribute to Indigo Idiakez and the people of the Basque region. You know what we need to go with this? A glass of red wine would be great, but I don't have a bottle open. Do I? And even though I'm in the fridge, oh right, so now we've got a decision. Do we have lager? No, I have drunk all the wine. I mean, this should be sort of a nice Spanish beer really, but I've still got a Foster's left in the fridge from my Scott McDonald episode, which if you haven't seen that, please do watch. It's one of my favourites. So, cheers, up the Saints, here we go. Let's give it a go. Hello, old friend. That is so good. You know, the sort of the butteriness of the bread. It's because we haven't put it in the pan like we normally do. You still get that lovely sort of like sweet butteriness. And we've got this beautiful sweetness of the red onions. The steak is beautifully tender, lovely, well cooked, well rested. And then we've just got this little sort of like hit of intense flavour, of thyme, you know, because the Bovril mayo, the Bovrilness, there's a sort of reduction that's gone into that. It's sensational. It's another worldie. Please like and subscribe, guys, if you like what you see. Any questions, pop them in the comments below. I will get back to you all. Thanks for watching.